All right, everybody, welcome to Design Time. Chris here with Christian. Today we're going to be talking about discussion board settings. So we're going to give it just a couple moments as folks are hopefully jumping on the line. Want to welcome everybody to Design Time. As always, we'll be posting this recording when the meeting is concluded on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out, we do urge you to take a quick look, maybe get some ideas for ways to improve your online class experience for your students. Okay, so it's 10:31, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right on into it. So like we said, we're going to be discussing discussion board settings today. And as you're taking a look at our desktop, we are in the test or the simulation module for the Cetis design demonstration course. And we're looking at the discussion board, and we're going to start by going into the discussion board settings by clicking on the little drop-down arrow that's to the right of the discussion title. And this takes us to our settings. So we're going to go through these different options here in turn to give you some more information about each. So the first thing that we wanted to point out is obviously option 1, which is the forum information. This is where you have the title of the discussion board along with some descriptions. So as you see here, we've got the question, which is why does Severus Snape dislike Harry Potter? And then we thought that it would be interesting to point out to you guys that it's a great idea to include these 3 bullet points here. When the first post is due, which would coincide with the due date of the actual discussion board. But then also to include when the reply by date is. That really makes it easier for your students to kind of get an idea of their timeline. And then the third option that we would prefer to see added is the points, just to kind of keep that in the forefront of the mind of the students. Okay, so moving down, the next is the form availability. Naturally, if you mark this as being available yes, it does not prohibit students from getting in and partaking in some of the discussion, but you can put in some time restrictions if you would like. So display after date, that's naturally when it'll be available to everybody to jump in and join or take part in the discussion. And then a display until, that will limit the availability to that particular discussion board after the date. So in our example, we don't have a display until.
And most instructors choose to display it after on 8 a.m. That's kind of the typical time frame that instructors like to use.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to jump in now to forum settings. This is really where the meat of discussion boards kind of lives. So Chris, do you want to take the first section?
Yeah, sure. Standard view is just going to be your standard view, kind of self-explanatory. The second option here, participants must create a thread. That's exactly how it sounds. It's basically allowing the students to not copy off other students' threads at first. So if you want the students to not be able to see threads from other students, then you want to check that box.
Yeah. So standard view, they can just jump right in, make some posts, they can see everybody else's posts. Participants must create a thread, just like Chris was saying. They have to jump in and initiate a conversation or initiate a thread before other students' posts are viewable to them. So then we jump down to the grade. So there are 3 options here. There's no grading in forum, grade discussion forum, and then grade threads. Now, in our particular instance, we're not able to use the grade threads option. That's based on some of the other settings that we have selected here. And it is recommended that we don't use that. It's better to use either the no grading in forum or a grade discussion forum. Now, essentially what the difference is here, for no grading in forum, you're going to need to manually input any grades associated with the posts based on the forum. With grade discussion forum, it's going to assign points possible based on 2 criteria. A rubric, if you have one, and in our instance, we don't have one yet, but we'll be adding one here in a few moments. Or based on their submission. So if they submit a discussion thread Based on the criteria, it's going to pop up in the Grade Center. It's going to require you to take a look at it and then assign the total points possible. Then we have the due date options. There's a couple check marks here to take a look at. One is show participants meeting grading status, and you have a drop down here where you can set different amounts of posts. Most folks use after every single post. That way, when they make a post into the Grade Center, into the discussion board, it populates in the Grade Center this little exclamation point icon to remind you that there's something to look at, there's something to read for that student so we can assign grades. And then the due date, just exactly what it is, when this discussion board is due. Now granted, the date that's entered here is going to be allocated to the initial post, not the reply. Okay, next section we have is rubrics, and we can assign rubrics here. You can either create one right out of the box, you can assign from existing assignments or an existing rubric that you have, or what we recommend is when you upload your rubrics into the course content collection, you can select them from here. And as you can see, we have quite a few different rubrics. We're going to use the one that we set up for grading discussion boards.
Now, if you don't know how to make a rubric, I can do that for you. You just send that over with your course information, and I will build that, from your template in Word doc or however you send that to me, and I can put that in Blackboard for you. So you don't have to actually worry about building it if you don't know how. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we are always here to lend an aid if you ever need a hand. So I wanted to take a quick look at this error message that popped up when I clicked select that selected rubric. It says click OK to assign the rubric's maximum amount of points. So this particular rubric is set up for 10 points. So if that was different than what you may have entered up here, because you're now using a rubric, it's going to override this amount. So I'll click OK. The amount doesn't change because we've already had it set up for 10. And now we can see that there's a rubric assigned to this particular discussion board assignment. Now, something we do want to point out to you is the default is show rubric to students is marked as a no. But it is a good idea to mark that as a yes for a couple reasons. One, so they can see the rubric scores, they can get that information, that feedback from you as you're filling out the rubric in the scoring phase. But then also, it kind of acts as a guide for them, so they can kind of take a look at what are the different elements that I need to hit in order to get full points. Okay, so forum alignments and thread alignments, this functionality is not quite up to par yet with Blackboard, so these are either grayed out or we recommend that you just leave those alone. And then we have subscribe, so I'll let Chris talk a little bit about how the subscribe works.
Well, do not allow subscriptions is exactly what that says. Sorry about that. That basically makes it where you will not receive an email if you choose not to subscribe. Allow members to subscribe. That gives your students the option to subscribe to a forum, and they will receive an email. And do we want to show them on the actual forum?
We can, yeah.
And we'll show you kind of what that looks like on the actual thread. So if you wanted your students to subscribe to a forum, they would actually go into the actual thread, and they would click that subscribe button. And now every time another student replies or creates a thread, they will receive an email notification.
Yeah, it's a great way for students who can keep in contact with the discussion board, one, to either see if there's anybody replying to something that they've posted, or to see if there's anything new that's hit the discussion board that they maybe want to take a look at. And they can unsubscribe at any time. So if they're getting inundated with emails, they can click unsubscribe from here. But then it's also a good idea for you as a faculty to potentially subscribe to a forum, or more specifically, if you've got a general questions discussion forum, to subscribe to that so that you're made known or made aware whenever a student posts something to the general discussion board or the help discussion board. All right, so we'll go back real quick here.
We recommend allowing it because it gives the student the option. If they don't want to receive a subscription or an email, they don't have to subscribe. If they want to, then they can subscribe. So just give them the option.
Yeah. Okay. So moving straight on down, now we're in the create and edit section. Now this, we really recommend just leaving it the way it is, for lack of a better way to put it. These three options down here, these are some things that we wanted to talk about. So allow file attachments. You can turn it on, you can leave it off. It really doesn't make a difference. This just says they can attach a file. So just like a Word document, a PDF, a picture, whatever, they can attach those to their discussion board post. The one below that, allow users to reply with quote. There's been some confusion about that and how that works. Essentially, all this means is when this option is selected, if a user chooses to reply to somebody else's thread, it's going to move that initial thread up to the top so they can see the original post while they're responding to it. It's just a way to kind of help them not have to scroll through a bunch of other replies to coincide with what it is that they're responding to. And then the last check mark under that section is forced moderation of posts. This is something that you can use when you really want to police, for lack of a better way to put it, when posts are released. So if I was a student, I went in and I said, oh, I'm going to make a discussion thread, and I post that thread, it's going to go to you as the faculty first for you to take a look at, read, moderate, before it's released to the room. And you can choose to release that to the room. So one of the things that Chris and I were talking about earlier is, this would be useful for maybe something that's a little bit, maybe a sensitive topic.
Controversial topic.
Yeah, something that's controversial where you really want to take a look at these threads before they're released to the rest of the student body within the course. Okay, so the last two, the additional options, allow post tagging and allow members to rate posts. That's essentially turning your discussion board into a Facebook, where you can have any student put in tags to make it easier to find posts. They can tag others in a post, or rating posts. They can say, hey, you know what, this is a great post, I'm going to rate this a 5-star, or you know what, this wasn't all that great, I'm going to rate it a 1. Our recommendation is really just to leave those turned off. One, so that it kind of eliminates that that potential for somebody to feel bad if their post gets rated a 1 because it really wasn't all that great. But then it also kind of eliminates some of that distraction in the school environment, in the discussion board environment. Okay, so that's really all there is to it. They're pretty universal settings that we go by, but the good news with a lot of these is they're customizable. You can make it personalized to what you need for your course or what you're hoping to get out of the discussion board with your students. So we hope that you found this particular design time informative. We hope that you got something out of this. We're taking a look at the participant panel right now in the room. It doesn't look like anybody else has joined. So we're not going to open up it for questions since there's nobody here to ask who has a question. So we're going to go ahead and end it there for the day. As always, if you have questions, please reach out to us. We're available through the Cetis Help email address, or you can call us here at Cetis at any time. And then we hope that you join us next time for Design Time. That's going to be on the first Wednesday of, what are we in now? This is March, right? Yeah. So first Wednesday of April. The days all run together. Sorry, gang. And again, we hope you join us then. So until then, we will see you next time.